Our topic is Gentleman Agreement 1956. First one, the expenditure of the central and general administration of the state should be borne proportionally by the two regions, and the balance of income from Telangana should be reserved for expenditure on the development of Telangana area. This agreement will be reviewed after 5 years and can be continued for another 5 years if the Telangana members of the assembly so desire. Second one, prohibitions in Telangana should be implemented in the manner decided upon by the assembly members of Telangana. Third one, the exciting educational facility in Telangana should be secured to the students of Telangana and further improved. Admission to the colleges, including technical institutions in the Telangana area, should be restricted to the students of Telangana, or the latter should have admission to the extent of one third of the total admissions in the entire state, whichever course is advantageous to Telangana students. Fourth one, retrenchment of services should be proportionate from both regions if it becomes inevitable due to integrations. Fifth one, future requirement to services will on the basis of population from both regions. Sixth one, the position of Urdu in the administrative and judicial structure exciting at present in the Telangana area may continue for 5 years, when the position may be reviewed by the regional council. So far as requirement to services is concerned, the knowledge of Telugu student should not be insisted upon at the time of requirement, but they should have been required to pass a prescribed Telugu test in 2 years after appointment. Seventh one, some kind of domicile rule residence for 12 years should be provided in order to assure the prescribed proportion to requirement of services for Telangana area. 8.1 Sales of agricultural land in Telangana area is to be controlled by regional council. 9th one, a regional council will be stabilized for Telangana area with a view to secure it all-round development in accordance with its needs and requirements. 9th, 10th one, the regional council will consist of 20 members as follows: 9 members of the assembly representing each district of Telangana to be elected by the assembly members of the Telangana district separately. 6 members of the assembly or the parliament elected by the Telangana representatives of the assembly. 5 members from outside the assembly to be elected by the Telangana members of the assembly. All ministers from Telangana area will be its members. 11th one, there is two types. First one, the regional council will be a statutory body empowered to deal with and decide about matters mentioned above and those relating to planning and development, irrigation and other projects, industrial development within the general plan and requirement to services in so far as they relate to Telangana area. If there is difference of opinion between the views of the regional council and the government of state, a references may be made to the government of India for final decisions. Second, unless revised earlier by agreement, this agreement will be reviewed at the end of 10 years. Now 12th one. The cabinet will be consist of members in proportion of 60 to 40% for Andhra and Telangana respectively. Out of the 40% Telangana minister, one will be a Muslim from Telangana. 13th one, if the chief minister is from Andhra, the chief minister will be from Telangana and vice versa. Two out of the following portfolios will be assigned to ministers from Telangana. There is five. First, home. Second, finance. Third, revenue. Fourth, planning and development. And fifth, commerce and industries. Now, 14th one. The Hyderabad Pradesh Congress Committee President desired that the Pradesh Congress Committee should be separated from Telangana up to the end of 1962. Andhra Provisional Congress Committee President has no objection. The above agreement was arrived at on February 20, 1956. It was signed by first one B. Gopala Reddy, Chief Minister of Andhra; second N. Sanjeeva Reddy, Deputy Chief Minister of Andhra; third one G. Lachana, Ministers in Andhra Cabinet and leader of Krishikar Lok Party, a constituent of the United Congress Front which contested the Andhra election year 1955 and formed the ministry. Fourth one is Satya Narayana Raju, President, Andhra Provisional Congress Committee. Fifth one B. Ramakrishna Rao, Chief Minister, Hyderabad. Sixth one K.B. Ranga Reddy, Minister, Hyderabad. Seventh one Dr. M. Chinna Reddy, Minister, Hyderabad. And eighth one J.B. Narsinga Rao, President, Hyderabad Provisional Congress Committee. Now we discuss next topic separate Telangana state formation of TPS year 1969. Non-implementations of Telangana's Gentleman Agreement and continued discrimination of Telangana region in government jobs, education and public spending resulted in the year 1969 statehood agitations. In January in 1969, students intensified the protest for separate state. On 19th January, all party accord was the reached to ensure the proper implementations of Telangana safeguards. Accord's main points were first one, all non-Telangana employees holding posts reserved for Telangana locals will be transferred immediately. Second, Telangana surpluses will be used for Telangana development. Third, appeal to Telangana students to call off agitations. But the protests further intensified as more and more students and employees joined the statehood movement. Police firing on protesters led to the death of about 369 youngsters during this phase of the agitations. Then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi called for a high level meeting to discuss the statehood issue. After several days of talks with leaders of both regions on 12 April 1969, the Prime Minister developed an 8-point plan. Sri M. Chinna Reddy founded the Telangana Praja Smriti, we can call in short form TPS, political party in year 1969 to spearhead the statehood movement. Mrs. Indira Gandhi has called snap parliamentary elections in March year 1971. In these parliamentary elections, Telangana Praja Samiti won 10 out the 14th parliament seats in Telangana. However, Indira Gandhi's Congress, our party scored a landslide victory on a platform of progressive policies such as poverty eliminations like Garibi Hatao. She was re- recruited to accept the Telangana statehood demand at the juncture. Sri M. Chinna Reddy then merged TPS in Congress party. After formulating a 6-point formula to safeguard Telangana's interest, the statehood movement continued until 1973 but subsided later. 1969 agitations within a decade and half of violent separate Telangana agitations erupted in 1969, primarily led by students and government employees citing violations of the Gentleman's Agreement and discriminations in education and employment. Around 369 people, mostly students, died in that agitations. The Telangana agitations took on a political color with Maria Chinna Reddy, who broke away from the ruling Congress party, forming the Telangana Praja Samiti, called TPS, to spearhead the movement. A 6 point formula evolved by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi focusing on accelerated development of backward regions and preferential treatment to local candidates in employment cooled down the agitations for the next 2.5 decades. Though discontent simmered, 1969 Telangana agitation was a political movement for the statehood for Telangana regions. The first person to raise the issue of Telangana happened in 1969 during October or November time frame. A hunger strike was being carried on by a person named Rabindranath on in 1969 January 8 in Khamam near the railway station. He was on an indefinite fast and his prime demand was to implement Telangana safeguards. On the other hand, demand was his instance of implementations of gentleman's agreement. It is a major event in Telangana movement. In the indiscriminate police firing, 369 Telangana students were killed. On 22nd December 1953, the State Reorganization Commission was appointed to prepare for the creation of states on linguistic lines. The commission, due to public demand, recommended disintegration of Hyderabad state and to merge Marathi speaking region with Bombay state and Kannada speaking region with Mysore state. The State Reorganization Commission discussed the pros and cons of a merger between Telugu speaking Telangana region of Hyderabad state and Andhra state. Now, next topic, background of the formation of Telangana. There had been several movements to revoke the merger of Telangana and Andhra, major ones occurring in 1969, 1972, and 2009. The movement for a new state of Telangana gained momentum in the 21st century by an initiative of the Telangana Political Joint Action Committee called TJAC, including political leadership representing the Telangana area. On 9th December 2009, the Government of India announced the process of formation of the Telangana state. Violent protests led by people in a coastal Andhra and Rayalaseema regions occurred immediately after the announcement and the decision was put on hold on 23rd December 2009. The movement continued in Hyderabad and other districts of Telangana. There have been hundreds of claims, suicide strike, protest, and disturbance to public life and demanding separate statehood. Telangana was created as India's 29th state on 2nd June 2014. It was the end result of a decade long movement to bring about a new state based more on cultural factors rather than on a linguistic basis. Now, next topic is Telangana formation timeline of events. The region of Telangana was part of the erstwhile Hyderabad state ruled by the Nizam. In 1955, the State's Reorganization Committee, called SRC, recommended the retention of Hyderabad as a separate state. This recommendation was, however, not taken. The people of Telangana protested that the region was more backward than the coastal regions of Andhra and also alleged that there were injustices in the distributions of budget allocation, employment opportunities, and water. On 1st November 1956, Telangana was merged with the state of Andhra Pradesh, uniting all Telugu speaking people. The movement for Telangana continued in the region. There were Jai Telangana and Jai Andhra movements. There were violent agitations as well, particularly in 1969 and 1972, in which many people were killed in police firing. After the 1969 agitations, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi gave the 6 point formula for the fast paced development of the backward areas and for preferential treatment to local candidates for employment. In 1997, the BJP supported the formation of a separate state. In 2001, K. Chandrasekhar Rao formed the Telangana Rashtra Samiti or TRS to revive the movement. In the various elections held in the state of Andhra Pradesh, the people voted for TRS and gave a public impetus to the movement. In 2009, there was a huge boost to the movement when Rao went on hunger strike for a separate Telangana, reminding people of the hunger strike and ultimately death of Puti Sri Mirimulu, born on March 16, 1901, who agitated for the state of Andhra. Many young people also committed suicide for the movement. In 2010, the Sri Krishna Committee was appointed to bring about a permanent solution to this issue. The committee stated in its report that efforts must be made to bring about equitable development to the three regions of the state of Andhra Pradesh, and it recommended a united Andhra Pradesh. However, owing to pressures, the Union Cabinet approved a bill for bifurcations of the state. The Ap Reorganization Bill was passed in 2014. Hyderabad was suggested as a government capital. It will remain so for not more than 10 years, after which it will be the capital of Telangana alone, and Andhra Pradesh would get a new capital. The new state of Telangana was formed on 2nd June 2014. Now we discuss next topic. The next topic, the end of the second Telangana movement. The second Telangana movement for the creation of a separate state seems to be in its final act now, with K. Chandrasekhara Rao ending the hunger strike. This will hopefully see the culminations of the Telangana statehood movement, which actually began way back in 1956 when the composite Andhra Pradesh was created by dismembering the old Hyderabad state and joining its Telangana region with the Telugu speaking areas of erstwhile Madras Presidency. At the time, the people of Telangana expressed apprehensions about being forced into a shotgun marriage with the Andhra region. The Andhra region was much more developed and wealthier than Telangana. With the British having invested a good deal in education and infrastructure, while the Nizam of Hyderabad seemed more preoccupied with collecting baubles like the Jacob diamond and accumulating a huge personal fortune. He was reckoned to be the richest man in the world. In fact, this took him to the cover of Time magazine well before Mahatma Gandhi's experiments with the truth placed him there. So wealthy was the Nizam that he gifted an entire Spitfire squadron to Britain when it was being pushed to the wall by German Luftwaffe. As the Nizam thrived, so did his court and thin feudal bureaucratic elite. Hyderabad blossomed into a beautiful and well laid out city. What began as the Muslim Seattle, Seattle in the Deccan had now acquired its famous cosmopolitanism. But the common people of Hyderabad, like other princely states, remained excruciatingly poor. The Hyderabad model of development ended a few miles out of the city where the wide and smooth concrete road terminated into narrow and pock-marked bitumen topped roads. There was a little irrigation and the presence of a police station was the only sign of any government. Thus, in the aridness of the Deccan, a fertile ground was created for a popular communist movement which morphed into India's first armed insurrection. This was the first Telangana movement which was terminated on orders from Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin himself. Stalin also saw in that Telangana movement the glimmerings of the Maoist dogma which postulated that the villages will strangle the cities and take over the states. The Communist Party of India then reverted to trade unionism, which it discovered was a far more lucrative proportions than the grind of revolutions in the hinterland. This was the Y. Charu Majumdar who spammed Naxalism in India. Denounced the CPI and the Communist Party of India Marxist and took to waging the People's War. The apprehensions of the people of Telangana and the Hyderabad elite in 1956 were not entirely unfounded. At the time, Jawaharlal Nehru associated their concern with safeguards like reservations in educational institutions and government for mulkis as the locally born were known. But most of these assertions remained on paper and the people of Andhra gained ascendancy over Hyderabad and Telangana social and economic life. By the mid 1960s, the situation being heating up again. I remember long afternoons in the canteens of Nizam colleges and later in the Art College of Osmania University involved in heated and passionate discussions on the desirability of a separate state. Many of our more ideologically committed contemporaries took to the gun and joined the now resurgent Naxalite movement in the forest of Telangana, inspired by communist ideologies like Vimapantu, Satyanarayana, and Adibatala Kailasam. When they were killed by Jalagam Vengala Rao's reason of terror, Konapalli Sitaramaya took over and greatly expanded the People War group. The original Telangana movement was revived in this manner. In 1969, the bleak prospect in the real world agitated the students of Osmania University enough to launch a movement for a separate state. This movement was seized by Congress dissidents like Dr. M. Chinna Reddy, a charismatic leader whose commitment to a separate Telangana was only exceeded by his concern for an office of profit. Under his leadership, over 300 students lost their lives. But the hacks of the Congress party were satisfied with the removal of Kasi Brahmananda Reddy and the promises of office. But instead of Chenna Reddy, Indira Gandhi founded by P.V. Narasimha Rao more convenient. The agitations revived soon, but now in both parts of the state. The Andhra side too wanted a separate state, and the pro Telangana supporters resumed their agitations. But in reality, all they wanted was the removal of Narasimha Rao. Once this was done, the Congress party went back to business as usual till the advent of K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who was a deputy speaker of Andhra Telugu Desam Party of Chandrababu Naidu. KCR soon had a fallout with Naidu, and guess what he took to next? The demand for a separate Telangana. After a good show in the 204 assembly elections, he too settled down to a good life as a cabinet minister in the Manmohan Singh led United Progressive Alliance government, till cries of betrayal turned his party against him. But by now, Y.S. Rajasekara Reddy was well and truly Rashtra Samiti, now in alliance with the Andhra dominated TDP, CPM, and CPIM, was reduced to a mere 2 seats in the Lok Sabha and 10 in the Assembly. Then the TRS split once more, but the ultimately death of YSR and the elevations of K. Royces to the post of CM, another PV Narasimha Rao kind of boundless wonder, gave disgruntled congressmen an opportunity to repeat history, so KCR was persuaded to go and fast unto death, and the Congress national leadership was arm twisted into bowing to the long dormant and once again aroused sentiments of the Telangana leaders. Soon KCR will realize that he will not to be the next chief minister of Telangana and died, and the old congressmen will take that positions. And there will be still be room for another Congress CM in truncated Andhra state. But that still leaves us with the now resurgent first Telangana movement. Only the communists are now called Naxalites.